Okay, welcome. It's Father Time. This is part 2 of our road to a type rating in the IniBuilds A-310. Bought by a rich guy. He rented Kennedy for the day, so there's no ATC. He's hired your old friends that I introduced you to last video, Bob, the check airman, Steve, howdy guys. And we've already done the cold dark airplane, start taxi takeoff, category 3 to an auto land. Still going to do a go-round, engine out failure, non-ILS, and a visual. And of course, some various maneuvers. And then we'd have to do a loft, which would be a line-operated flight training, which would be sort of a, like from a Boston to New York with normal procedures. And then we would have to, on another day, go out with the check airman for a couple of days for some passenger time, supervised. But not for this guy. Because this rich guy, all he wants is his type rating. He's going to do this stuff, and then he wants to sign off and fly around his big luxury craft. So here we go. Runway 4, right at Kennedy. And we don't know what Steve has in plan for us. We're going to do the visual. We're going to do the non-ILS. We're going to do the abort. We don't know. It's not that far-fetched, guys. Oh, by the way, IniBuilds. I have all, for IniBuilds aircraft, I have everything in the description below. They're manual videos on the returning to airliners or new to airliners. I have the DIFSRIP acronym, which is the Airbus acronym for the FMC. What that's described as. I have the profile for a type rating in this airplane, which you and I are doing together. So start off with all that stuff, study it, fly it around, and see if you can't get yourself a simulated rating. All right, so let's go. Well, I don't know what Steve's up to. Kind of do because I'm Steve, but anyway, here we go. Parking brake is off, 50% N1. The engines are coming up together. I could have disabled nose wheel steering on this. This seems very sensitive. It's 50%. Toga. Throttles are coming up. Center line, center line, center line, right? And 80 knots. We're cross-checking the airspeed. Make sure we don't have any clogged static torpedo tubes. V1 is 138. And old Steve does that to us. Full right rudder. He failed the left engine. Runway, center line. Sorry, I had my head down trying to do that. Not easy. All right, runway heading. Positive rate, gear up. And I would tell Bob, our check airman.
Too low, gear. Too low, gear.
Please.
Too low, gear. Too low, gear. Too low, gear. Too low,
well, that's
gear.
An interesting
too
one,
low,
right, guys?
Gear. Too low, gear. Too low, gear. Too low, gear.
Anyway, that's
too low,
distracting.
Gear. Too low, gear. Too low, gear.
We're going to go runway heading.
Too low, gear.
Mayday. And I see my aircraft, I'm flying. Now I got to maintain plus or minus 10 degrees center line. We get back on runway extended center line. Because there's 810 for the engine out acceleration altitude. Don't want to descend, but I'm going to lower the nose. We're past the blue dot, so I can get the flaps from 1515 to 15.0. Gear is up. Now, we're not in a big hurry to run the checklist. I just want Bob watching me. Should watch Steve for crying out loud. But
don't sink. Don't sink.
We don't want to descend.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
There's slat speed. Start bringing the slats up. Now you see the green dot there. I got full
Don't
right rudder
sink.
in, by the way.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
When I get to green dot, I'm going to go level change. And at that point, there's runway center line. We're extended on the runway center line. Level change.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
It's acting up pretty heavy here. So now I've got it in flight level change. It's maintaining 200 knots, climbing up to 3,000 feet. And I tell Bob now, all right, let's run the engine failure checklist, but we're not going to pull the fire handle. Get rid of that for you guys. And the reason we're not pulling the fire handle, guys, and I'm telling ATC, by the way, the Mayday aircraft take a turn to crosswind, 130 on the heading. And my whole job is flying the airplane, not getting slow. 130 is a good heading. I'm to 3,000, which is min vectoring altitude. And 2 for 3. And the autopilot's not going to work today, so this is going to be a handful for this simulator. So gears up, flaps up. Bob's running the checklist. He's securing the left engine, left auto throttle to off, left fuel thrust lever to off. I would back him up on that. Left fuel control switch to off, which Steve was nice enough to have already done for us. There's 3,000 and crosswind. And then fire handle, I am not going to pull it because the engine is windmilling. I would like to have that engine if need be later on. And there we are on crosswind. If we have any flight attendants, I call back and tell them that it's precautionary landing, got to return to Kennedy. This auto throttle is just maintaining it barely. I wonder, can I get an autopilot on? Let's see if it holds it. That would be awesome. Yeah, the right auto throttle is working. On this Airbus, you can't do left auto throttle because that engine failed. I'm keeping the rudder in there. I could put in some rudder trim. Right rudder. Help the autopilot out so I don't have to hold it too. All right. I don't know if it can hold it. I'm going to release the brakes. The rudder, yeah, it worked. Okay. I'm going to take a turn across. So we briefed the flight attendants. We briefed the passengers, which of course is not an issue because we don't have any. Let's see if I can get, now I'm turning to downwind. There we go. And the autopilot's engaged. Look down here. This is ECAM action. This is really a check ride, not an instructional video. There's plenty of those out there. We also call for ECAM action, and that's you would do this. So throttle, it tells you what to do. I'm not going to do it all. As soon as continuous relay, it would tell Bob we'll be starting the APU, so we get some backup on the generator that for the buses. We'd be setting up the approach in here, 1095-044. Oh, somebody already put that in. Yeah, I know I did. We go into flight plan. For SA, I'd want to do this, star. Someone's always flying the airplane though, right guys? And no star. And insert. And there it is. We are on downwind. Where are we relative to the field? And there it is. Got the autopilot on. Remember, I had to put on the right autopilot because the left engine was failed. We're back here where you can see things. We programmed the box. We set in the decision height, which I would put in here. Let's get up here. It's 213. By the way, the ILS to 4 right, the approach plate to VOR to 4 left, which will be our non-ILS eventually. I've also put those in the links down below on this video for YouTube. Guys, I could really use these subscriptions, to be honest with you. I'm retiring in September after 36 years with the airline. By the way, as I mentioned in the first video, I do have 4,200 hours in this, but the last time I flew it was like 1997. We had the 300-600. So anyway, Steve's done, Bob's done all this stuff. Steve's done absolutely nothing other than pulling fuel levers on us. And here it comes, we're beamed the field. I would be slowing down, getting some flaps out. But Bob would be going through emergency landing stuff. We'd be sending a message to the company, telling them we want the ARF equipment. I'm going to go down to ask for 2,000. And the reason is, it's the engine out. I want to come from beneath the glide slope. So I'm going to set 2,000 in the window. 2,000. And I'm going to go level change. Auto throttle's still working on the right engine. And you know, we could actually go 15-0, so slats 15, flaps 0. Gives us a little more margin there. We're going to stay at 200. I would like to come in below the glide slope. Zeetal is at 3,000, so I'd like to come outside of Zeetal. We're not in a big hurry to get the airplane on the ground. Flight attendants are briefed. The passengers is a PA. I'm telling Steve this, my FAA guy who failed my engine, as if he cares, right? And company's notified, ATC's notified. We're leveling at 2,000, and the auto throttle is still working. Got right rudder trim in. Autopilot appears to be handling it. Someone's always flying the airplane. Now, when Bob comes back, he's going to brief me on the engine out. Engine out is the end of a missed approach. Oh, by the way, I would tell ATC in the event of missed approach, you go like to a runway heading 2,000 feet. And he says, okay, that's approved. Min vectoring is 3,000, but it's VFR, and I know 2,000 is a good altitude. That way we don't have to fly the published approach. We've checked the weather, we've set our mins, we've checked the ILS frequency 1095044, 212 feet on the DH. I'll be flying. Bob briefs me in the event of missed approach, you go up 1 notch, so we're going to be doing flaps 20, by the way. So, 2020. And so that flaps 2020, 138, so 153 on mine. And maybe it's 212. Put that in there. Nice. I think it's going pretty well so far, Steve. What do you think, brother? Steve, it gives you almost nothing. As you learned yesterday when we did our first part of the check ride, he didn't help at all. So I'm not going to do any of this, guys. The ECAM action, the guys run it. He's run the checklist. And everyone's brief. Company, ATC, flight attendants, passengers. Engine failure checklist is complete. Emergency landing checklist is reviewed. Weather's good. It's going to be a hand-flown ILS inside the FAF as part of the qualification program. We have to go around, it's 1 notch up, so that would be, instead of 1520, it'd be 1515. We'd be going around, TOGA, which we use here. We would normally be on the throttles, but the simulator here. Going around, TOGA, flaps 1515, which is 1 notch. Positive rate gear up, set missed approach altitude. It'll be 2,000 in the window. Going runway heading 2,000. Start cleaning up at 1,000 feet above the ground. Get it all cleaned up, get back into flight level change, come back around and do it again. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Plan is to do a full stop, then I'll reset the sim. I'll come back to you and we'll either do the non-ILS or the VFR, depending what Steve wants to do. All right, so where are we? Coming up outside of Zeetal. I don't want to get rushed. I think we can start our turn to crosswind. That's what, about a 310. 310. We'll take a look at it. We're vectoring ourselves around. You know, I've been telling Steve, I do not want to be rushed by ATC. Right, so that's the big thing. No big hurry to get on the ground. Unless we're burning up, the cabin's on fire, you want to slow it down as much as possible. Yeah, this looks like a good heading they gave us. So if they turned us in too soon, let's say they try to dump us right over the 1,500 foot EBI, FAF, we tell them we need a little more time. I'm comfortable with this airspeed because I've got the slats out. It's 199. We could go all the way down to 185. Matter of fact, let's go to 190. That is not what I wanted. Well, 190. Yeah, I'm really happy that the autopilot's working. Got enough rudder trim in where it can handle it. Sometimes you can't do it because it doesn't have enough rudder. See if it's going to maintain our speed. Yep. So you could fly this all the way down in autopilot, click it off at 200 feet and land it in the Airbus. Can't auto land. Well, I'm not sure if it could, but you're not allowed to. But in our case today, we're on a check ride. We are required to hand fly it inside the FAF. Now I want to know a little check airmanship in the simulator. The If the check airman doesn't tell you to turn off the autopilot inside the FAF, we make them tell us. We know we're going to get a single engine missed approach. So he tells you to turn it off, you know he's not planning on a missed approach, because you're not required to do your missed approach engine out for your qualification program. Just a little old man simsmanship. By the way, I have my last recurrent training after 40-something years of flying between the Air Force and the airlines in May. Right now it's March 16th. So kind of bumped about that. I'm looking forward to it, actually, which is saying something. How sick is that? Been a great career. No regrets. Well, I have regrets, but I'm not going to tell you guys about them. But anyway, trying to get signed off. We did the normal procedure, start, taxi, takeoff. We did the auto land. Now we're trying to get we did our engine failure on takeoff, which I think I passed. Now we're going to hopefully pass our single engine approach, and then we're going to land, do our non-ILS, and then a VFR. We're not going to do the maneuvers, the holding, or the unusual attitudes. There's various maneuvers, TCAS, that they can do with you. It's up to them. We're not going to do any of those things because it's just a simulator. But we will do a little loft when I come back from I got to go to New Delhi here. This is the last thing I'll be able to do until I come back. So let's do a turn to crosswind to nice easy intercept. How about like a easy 360. So we're going to come in under the glide slope. I know in the IniBuilds, I do believe they went ILS in here. I don't think you have to do that, but we always just, well, we didn't have to do that. So coming in, I'm even going to make this the heading even a little more shallow intercept. Do not want to be rushed, right? Now we can go flaps 15-15. We can't go 20-20 our final until I'm going to go, guys. I'm going to arm the approach here, land mode. Wow, we already got a low capture, nice. Cat 2 because we don't have both autopilots. Heading, I'll bring that around and match runway heading. Runway heading, 2000 is our missed, 180. Yeah, we don't want to get configured too much. We can go 15-15, we should be able to handle that. So we'll go one notch, going to 15-15, that's slots 15, flaps 15. We are in low capture. Remember, inside of Ebi, I have to hand fly it, runway in sight out there. You know, we used to actually do all this stuff in the sim. When we got these from Airbus, I did my training in Toulouse back in 1988. We actually had to go up to Bradley and do 12 guys, FAA. We didn't have any simulators, so we actually had to do this kind of stuff in the airplane. We didn't shut the engine down like that, though. That'd be a little crazy. What did I say my final approach speed was? It's flaps 20-20, 138, so 143 is what we'll be flying. We're going to go to flaps 20-20, 1 dot, and gear down. Here comes the glide slope is alive. It's glide slope is armed, Loke's captured. This approach altitude's already set. All right, so there comes the glide path at 1 dot. The checklist says we can go. I'm sorry about the ECAM action down here. I'm not going to simulate that. I'm just too busy. Remember, I'm not required to hand fly till Ebi. Why would I? And all right, there's 1 dot. Gear down. And flaps 20. And I can bring the speed all the way back to 143. All right, 143 is set. 2000 on the mist. We are glide slope capture, low capture. It's doing a beautiful job. I gotta give you, I love this model. We are so lucky to have this for free in Microsoft Flight Simulator. All right, right about now, the check airman, Steve, says, okay, brother, you need to hand fly. So I'm gonna turn up the autopilot, I'm gonna silence it, and I'm gonna fly it down. I'm gonna put the rudder in. Come Come on, autopilot. I know you want it. There we go. All right, let's go back here where you guys can see what's going on. And here we go. All right, I have to put a little more rudder in because now that the autopilot's off, I didn't have quite enough rudder trim in. So our intention, and I tell Steve, would be to stop straight ahead on the runway. We did have an engine failure. I'd have the fire equipment safety vehicles look us over. Once we come to a stop, I would get the brake fans on. It's pretty heavy, and tell the people to remain seated if we had any. And I tell Steve, the FAA guy, that if ground control looked us, the safety equipment looked us over, it looked good, we would taxi to the gate. But for the sim purposes today, we'll pretend that we just taxi back around because we bought Kennedy Airport for the day, right guys? Taxi back around, and we're going to do our visual and non-ILS and be done. Steve doesn't want to see any of the maneuvers. He's seen enough. Half of my flying has been unusual attitude, so no, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually pretty pleased with myself. So anyway, we've done the Cat 3, we've done the engine failure, we still need to do abort, visual, and non-ILS. And then we have to do the LOFT.
400.
Here we go. Autopilot, auto throttle's off. It's not spaz out, sir. Don't scare Bob.
300.
Let's get over on center line.
Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps.
I should
Too
have
low,
gone
flaps.
GP Dutch
Too low, flaps.
override
Too low,
because I have flaps 20.
Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps.
That would have been part of the checklist.
Too low, flaps.
10, 5.
Not bad. Nose down, reverse. And Bob would call no reverse left engine, 60 knots. All right, come to the stop. I'm not going to park the brakes. I am going to ask Bob to put on the braked fans. I'm going to tell the people remain seated, remain seated, remain seated. It's the captain, remain seated. ATC is going to, the fire guys are going to look over the airplane. They say, I don't see anything wrong, sir. You can taxi to the gate. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to bring the flaps up. And I'm going to say, after landing checklist, and we taxi to the gate. All right, guys, so that's the engine failure. Okay, back at the end of the runway. We started the engine that Steve failed on us, and we are ready to go. Brakes have cooled, and see the wheel temps are all cooled off, and we're ready to do. What do we have to do? We've already done the Cat 3, already done the engine out work. We still have to do a non-ILS and a visual, and technically we still have to do an abort with a ground evacuation, but that's something if you're actually renting an airplane, you could probably be waived. They talk you through that because you could damage the aircraft. So plan on coming around. We'll do the VOR to 4 right, non-ILS, brief it, fly it, probably to a go around, depends what Steve wants, and then come back around. We have to do a hand-flown visual to the landing runway. So gotta admit, let me see here, I would know it was coming, so I would get this set up for the visual. When you fly a visual for your FAA check ride, you can use any nav aids available to you. In other words, if there's an ILS, you can actually use the glide slope. When we practice in the sim, we do it with everything off. I could do that for you if you want to see me flail there. And I know I'm coming around for the non-ILS. The FAA has already told me that's what we're doing. So if you take a look here and you go to VOR on, that is going to be the VOR free when the time comes. We'll talk about that as we go. All right, we're not going to do an abort in the real aircraft. We'll talk about that later. Here we go. So 50%, park the brakes off. And they're reasonable. Auto throttles are engaged. Takeoff power is set. 80 knots, we look for crushed cockpit. confirm we both had the same thing. Check. No clogged pitot tubes today. 138 is V1 and VR. V2 is 162. Is go, no go. V1, rotate. Right up in the command bars. Positive rate. Gear up. Cleaning up around 1,000 feet. I think I have set in the box.
Right slope. Right slope. Right slope.
Yeah, that'll go away
Right
here in a minute,
slope.
guys. That's the simism. All right, so there's above the blue dot, so I can go flaps from 1515 to flaps slats 15. Now you see the S speed pop up. And the S speed, the slats up. We can bring the slats up. There's 2 for 3. And we're going up to 250 and hand flying it up to 3,000 feet. Clean the maneuvers 200, but we'll go to 250 and 3,000. It's right about in there. Trim's your friend. Trying to get it trimmed up. Anytime on a check ride. Don't be proud. Right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Autopilot on. As long as it's trimmed, it should be able to handle it. And there it is. Speed's coming back. We take a turn to crosswind. Get this where you guys can see it. Crosswind's 130. And come on, big baby. I know you want to turn. Got to admit. Turn for me, baby. Here we go. Hope no one's offended by baby. You know, I do have to retire. I had forgotten what pronouns were and everything. I've just been out of school so long. I am all for whatever you guys need out there. So anyway, you know what I didn't do? I never set up the box. So KJFK, turning the crosswind. Steve doesn't give a shit. KJFK. Should be fine. 3,000's in the box. For Init 100, totally unnecessary. Init 100 cost index 40. And now we come in and we do the approach off the flight plan. What we are going to do for our non-ILS, I'd like to do the VOR for my next act. I'd like to do the VOR. I have to use this. I think the VOR is a little more challenging than the localizer. Can't do the RNAV. I don't trust the profile on this. We'll do the VOR to 4 right. Man, it's way down there. VOR 4 right. FP transition, turn, and that, and insert it. Okay. We're going to go medium on the brakes. Armed here. So gears up, flaps are up. Let's turn to downwind here. 224. 3,000. And it's going to be Bebke at 1,500. I'm going to request 2,000. Start getting down there. And take a look on here. It's going to be Bebke. So I'd brief it up. I'd say your aircraft. and the pilot not flying will take it. This is going to be the VOR to 4 right to displaced approach right off the bat. 23-2, 24 June 22, 115.9 and 228. I'll put the VOR up here. And, oh, I got to put it back in. 115.9, 028. Going down to an MDA of 600, and 600 is set. I got to go to takeoff approach. It's leveling. We're going to be flaps 40, 30-40, and MDA is going to be 600. The reason it's 600 is because it's 540. We have to add 50 to most companies, and that is 590. So we'll be going down to 600 feet. We got the weather for that. Beb key at 1500, 028 final approach. Runway is going to be off to our right. It's 044 is runway heading. We're coming in at 028, and we'll come in and fly. And mid sectors 3000. Missed approach is right turn to 4000 on it. So 4000 will go into missed approach. And that should be it. After the landing, turn off and left on Fox Bravo, hold short of the inboard. That would be it. And I'd say my aircraft, and I'd tell them, let's do a descent checklist to get the altimeter set, 2992. Everyone's got their bugs set, and that's it. Let's take a look at what we've got here. I want to turn this panel, brighten this up a lot. There's a lot of things when you're doing this Microsoft Flight Simulator. It gets a little confusing, huh? Let's see, 20, 30, there's Beb key. I wish I could extend off there. I don't think you have that capability in this box. That's really nice. So it's going to be a little complicated. We'll come out and we'll go direct to Beb key when we get out on final. It's a little bit of an angling final, and the reason is it's really not a 220 downwind. Downwind's more like 208. So let's go back to heading. And about a 200 to get ourselves a little more of a berth. As you can see, got to come in outside of Bebke because Bebke's at 1500. So I definitely want to start slowing down here for our turn. It's my check ride, right? Take it back to 200. And once we get below 250, the speeds are 245. That's all in the manual. I can bring flaps, slats 15 and flaps to 0. Yeah, I didn't set all the lighting up properly. A lot of stuff in this sim. So guys, this is step 2 of the type ride. If you're enjoying this, if you wouldn't mind, I need subscribers. It's part of my retirement plan is to do this. I really enjoy it. It's fun being part of this community. I'm new to it. I'm new to YouTube. I'm new to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm new to all that stuff. So I'm just trying to get my feet wet. I could use your subscribing and get a big kick out of it anyway. So we got flaps 15. We've got auto brakes medium. Won't let me do it just yet. They're armed. The spoilers are armed. Approach is briefed. We've got 120. We're flying a 133 final. I'll be fully configured. Final approach fix inbound. I'm not going to use profile. Of course, in the modern airplanes, we use LNAV, VNAV, and fly it down. I'm just going to do from EBI inbound 700 feet per minute. I'll be fully configured on speed at approach from Bebke inbound on EBI. All right, where are we? Bebke's out there. I'm going to go a little further out because we can fly it in nav, guys. You could do VOR lock because I have VOR on, or we can go nav. So I can do Bebke and use nav and back it up with the VOR on my display. here, set the precision height, 500, this 490, we just set 500 in here for MDA. I've got it on my marker on my PFT, on my altimeter rather. What did I say it was? 540 plus 50 company policy, 590. All right, where's Bebke? We're getting outside of it. How you doing, Steve? Am I passing? Bob, everything good? All right, any questions? Now we're all good. All right, fun stuff. Last recurrent coming up. Definitely want to get well outside of Bebke before I do this. All right, that should do it. Let's turn right. Heading what about? Why aren't you turning, baby? There we go. Because I was doing course. I would really like to be able to see Bebke a little better. When we roll out, I probably will. There it is. There. Again, I wouldn't let ATC rush me. I'm going to get down to 1500. I need to put in here and go. And now I can put in altitude. All right, and I'm going to level change it on down. So I want to be down at that Bebke altitude of 1500, fully configured. And I want it to go level change. 1500. Seem to want to do that. No big deal. Go 15, bring the airspeed back. It's 180. Going down to 1500 in vertical speed. We've got 15 set. I want to line up outside of Bebke, and then I'll go direct and try to do this in nav instead of VOR lock. I'll do it in nav. And back it up with raw data over here. Remember, it's a displaced approach. Make sure it levels off here. It's gone into alt. That's good. Yeah, Bebke, we're a ways out there. I kind of did a long downwind, but it's my check ride. We paid for the airport for the day, right, guys? So, let me see. Yeah, we can probably come right. Get out in the box. Go Bebke. Correct. Bebke. Insert. From there, we can go nav. Now it's going to go to Bebke at 1500. We want to be fully configured on speed. So we're going to nav it on in. After Bebke, the course is 028. Remember, the runway is going to be off to our right. At Bebke, we're going to do about 700 to 800 feet per minute, going down to an MBA of 590, which is 540 plus 50. We have the weather. Here we go. Bebke. A little bit of a right turn at Bebke. We would start the clock at Bebke for timing. And the timing is at 1:40 is a minute 53. This is old school, baby. We do everything RNAV, VNAV, LNAV, VNAV these days. All right, 10 miles from Bebke, or 180 knots out, 180 knots. I know it's boring, but it's my check ride, guys. Gotta be ready, baby. Well, we can actually set in the minimums here, right? So we're not gonna go down yet. All right, the minimums is is that not working? $600 is set. Bebke. We'll go gear down. We're going to get really configured. Gears down. Start bringing a little more flaps out. Going to end up at 30, 40. We go missed approach, it's, you bring the flaps up one notch to 2020, so it's going around Toga, flaps 20, because they still haven't done my missed approach yet. Bring our airspeed back to 140, 52. Let's get final flaps. Double check that. 127, 132. 132. You can see now, if we look out here, you can obviously see the runway. We're coming in at an angle. It's going to be kind of tricky to maneuver for final. Alright, so we get gear down, flaps down, auto brakes are medium, spoilers are armed, before landing checklist, please. So trigger, just did the flow. Sit up a little bit so I can see. Bebke at 2, it's about 2 miles, 2.7 miles. Bebke at 2 miles. Now look, here comes the backup information of the glide slope. You can always use it, guys. You can open up the window here. Zero. There's Bebke coming up. start our clock. Rev key looking for, again, 153. There's our descent. Gonna go 700 feet per minute. Okay, we get 700 feet per minute, going down to 600 inside the FAF. We can actually start positioning. See the angle. We turn the autopilot on and maneuver. See, we're getting a little high. 1,000. I'm using the ILS backup. Glide slope. All right, runway's in sight, but right about in here, they say, hey, American, go around. It's going around Toga. And autopilot's off. It's not doing anything. Positive rate gear up. Set missed approach altitude. Missed approach altitude's 4,000. Sorry about that, guys. And now we just do a normal go-around procedure, which will be flying nav. Positive rate gear up. There we go. Flaps starting to come up. And when I went around, I should have brought the flaps up one notch. I didn't. We're above the 1,000 feet, so we can start cleaning it up. We tell tower we're going around. They say, yeah, maintain 100 heading, climb to 2,000. So there's 2,000, 100 heading. Let's go altitude hold. You know what? These throttles not letting me do it. Auto throttles are off too. There we go. I had to recycle my throttles, guys. And now I'm going to go flight director off, come back around for a visual. For a visual approach and landing. Alright, that's all I'm going to do. And Steve said, okay, go around. Yeah, I could have gone flaps as soon as I went going around Toga. Should have been flaps up one notch. Set missed approach altitude. I did that part right. Tower took over and told me just to maintain 100 heading 1,000. I requested a visual. And they clear me for the visual to 4 right. I get flaps 15, slats 15, flap 0, coming around to downwind. I'm just going to try a little visual approach. 200 knots, autopilot, all throttles are off. Now you can use whatever you have available to you. I don't want the VOR anymore. Use the ILS. Maintaining 2,000, hand flying. It's good. We got flaps 15, slot 0. Auto brakes medium. Wow. Spoilers are armed. Alright, there we go. 2,000 feet. Yeah, the IniBuilds actually gives you a real nice pitch and power settings for the airplane too. I'm telling you, whoever wrote this is field out there at right off our right wing, so we got time. Whoever made this airplane up, it's some pilots involved. It's just the operating manual alone was legitimate pilot stuff. We want to know pitch and power settings, airspeeds, things like that. Okay, so part of the FAA exam also is visual approach and landing. You're welcome to use ILSs and things like that. They want it hand flown generally. There's a slat speed you see there. I'm going to go flaps 15. So I got slats 15, flaps 15. Maintaining 170 knots. 2,000. And you know what? For backup, I go flight plan. It's not going to let me do it. It's okay. We're going to do this visually. Go gear down. Approach 20. Start bringing it around. Try to find the field. Sometimes all the way 30, 40. You know, that's a simism, guys. There we go. Roll out here, see if we can see the field. There it is. So I'm going to bring it over where I can see better. Normally, I'm having a little fun here, but normally I would put an approach in so I could see where I was going on final, but we're having a little fun. I do have the advantage of the glide path there. It tells me kind of where I am, a little low. Auto throttles do not want to disconnect. There we go. It's fighting me. See this field over here? Over here, rather, up our nose. I used to be an old Air National Guard base. I used to fly back in the 70s with guys who actually flew out of there. That's how old I am. Let's get over here. We can see what we're doing. I see the runway out there, guys. It's inspiring confidence by Steve. Yeah, I'm having to recycle the throttles. It keeps taking over for me. Yeah, there's the runway. Yeah, the throttles are definitely fighting me. Definitely fighting me. There's the runway. I think Steve will be pleased. I'm cheating. I'm using the glide path. We'll pick up the daisies here shortly. All right, we got gear down, spoilers arm. For whatever reason, the brakes won't arm. Oh, there they go. I plan on clearing at Fox Bravo. So we've done the Cat 3. We've done the engine out work. We've done the non-ILS, which is the VOR to 4 right. We've done the visual. We've done the missed approach. And unless Steve wants to see more area work, and then we'd have to do the, which I would probably think he wouldn't want to see. We have to do the abort, which we wouldn't do in the real airplane. So we're going to consider the checklist complete, provided I can do okay here. To mess up the landing, right? One thing you might have a question on is when I went around, why didn't I go flaps to 20? But I'm going to pay him extra. Remember, I'm a rich guy, my own A310. That'd be nice. Throttles seem to be cooperating more. little bit left.
400.
The benefit of the glide path there on my
300.
visual. Feels a little low to me, even though the glide path says I'm right on.
200.
Probably just my seating height.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10. 5.
Whoa. All right, my sim just crashed. Sim just crashed, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is say mission accomplished, and I'll be right back.